We welcome you to Phillies Postgame Live, presented by Cure Auto Insurance. Ricky Batalico, Ben Davis, I'm Michael Barkan, John Kruk in a moment from CBP. 4-2 Mets. Phillies now 1-4 against the Mets this season, and it will be 644 days since the Phillies last won a series against the New York Mets. Maybe they could stop that tomorrow in the finale of this 6-18 record the Phillies have against the New Yorkers going back to the start of the 2022 season, Ricky Bo. And again, with the Max Scherzer on the mound, makes it even tougher.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, the Phillies had opportunities. They were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. This is becoming a little bit of an issue. I go back to last Saturday. When you watched last Saturday's game, everybody was happy that they got the win, which was fine. But you saw a little trend happening. They were leaving a lot of guys on base. They weren't swinging the bats that well, and that kind of has continued for almost a full week right now. I mean, this is one thing that these guys, I mean, number one, you've built a team to hit. And when you're leaving all those guys on base, especially against a guy like Max Scherzer, you're not going to win that game. I don't blame the pitching today. They gave up 4 runs. Yeah, Junior Marte wasn't great, and maybe he could have held it a little bit closer. But this was a ball game that the Phillies probably have had an opportunity to win if they look back on it. I mean, hit into a couple big double plays in the ball game. A lot of things went wrong again offensively.
It looked like they had an opportunity to get more against Max Scherzer. They got 2 against Scherzer. We talked in the pregame how he had given up just 1 earned run in his last start against Houston. But before that, his ERA last 3 games, 6.35 coming in. But they couldn't take advantage of it.
No, they could not. And if you would have told me that the Phillies would have 9 hits, including a home run, and only score 2 runs, I said, no way, you're full of it. But that's what happened today. They just were not able to push the guys across home plate. The bullpen failed them a little bit. And I thought Sanchez was okay today. I don't think he really was that bad. He was able to give him 5 1/3.
Yeah.
So I think overall you got to be happy with his performance. But this is a ball club that needs to hit the baseball a little bit better. And obviously we've been saying it all year with runners in scoring position. It just seems like they're squeezing the sawdust out of the bat. It's easier said than done, and just go up there and relax and take what the pitch will give you. But right now I think they're just trying too hard.
The thing that's bothersome to me, though, it's not one guy. Usually, okay, you could make up for one guy struggling with runners in scoring position, but you got this team of guys that are supposed to be really good hitters. I mean, Turner, Harper, that's one thing. Bryce Harper is just flat out struggling right now, and I think it's almost like a mental aspect of his game right now, getting into it. But, I mean, that's one thing that's really got to turn around. I mean, these guys, like Ben said, just relax. Do what you normally would do. Forget about the runners on base. Just hit the ball.
Yeah. Let's go to John Kruk. Called today's game with Tom McCarthy in the booth at Citizens Bank Park. John, we talked about Bryce Harper in the pregame. He's 0 for again today. He got thrown out yesterday. I know you don't talk to him about hitting, but if you could impart any advice, what do you see that he might be able to improve upon?
It's just like anyone else when they're struggling. You're trying to do way too much. Look, every hitter goes through this, and 99% of the hitters think that, if they hit a home run, I thought this way, if I hit a home run, I'm out of my slump. But it doesn't usually end up that way. You just have to compartmentalize with this, with your at-bats. You have to go up your first at-bat. If you don't get a hit, forget about that at-bat. When you start taking at-bat to at-bat, and I will tell you this, when I got to the White Sox, I was a DH, and I know when I struggled, man, you sit there and you can't go in the field to have your mind, go get those thoughts out of your head about how bad you're swinging the bat. You have to sit there in misery and just wallow in it in the dugout. And I'm sure he watches video and sees what he's doing, his swing, and then he sees what Scherzer's doing. But, I would have to think this. If he was playing the field, this probably wouldn't be happening. But, like I said, I struggled in Chicago when I first got there as a DH, and it was miserable sitting there and having to wait, another 15, 20, 30 minutes before you hit again?
Yeah.
It's painful.
Johnny, what seems to be concerning is we never knew what Bryce Harper's emotions have been. He strikes out, he makes an out, he sits down, and then he gets up the next one and hopefully gets a hit. Now we're starting to see the frustration, body language that he is showing on his way back to the dugout. That's a little bit worrisome.
Well, it's worrisome, but it's normal. Look. What's all Bryce talked about when he got here? I just want to win. I just want to win. I just want to win. Well, he knows, and you understand, you take it personally. This game 4-2, I guarantee you Bryce is taking this personally, like, this is my fault. And that's any great hitter is going to tell you that. When they go 0 in a close game, it's your fault. It's my fault. I always thought that every game we lost, it was my fault. If I didn't get – I drove in 7 runs in a game. We got beat, I think, 13-7. And I felt like it was my fault because I came up with the bases loaded and only hit a single. But that's the way I felt. And I'm sure that's the way Bryce feels. Look, he knows he's the man on this team. He knows he's the top dog. And he knows if he's struggling, runs are going to be a little tougher to come by. When he's hitting, they score a lot of runs. But he's taking it, he has to take this personally, and he feels it. I'm sure he feels the pressure on himself, like, I'm letting this team down. And, he just needs to take a step back, like I said, compartmentalize. First, one at bat. If you don't get a hit, forget about it. Go to the next one. Try to hit the next one and just try to forget what has been going on, this series especially. And, just move forward and try to figure it out one at bat at a time.
One guy who has figured it out is Nick Castellanos. Talk a little bit about what are you seeing from him, because this isn't just today. This is this year. What are you seeing from him that is completely changed or turned around from last year?
He's made some subtle adjustments that have helped him. So let's say I can show you that. Let's say this is his left hip, this is his right hip. Last year when Nick was swinging, the right hip went down, the left hip went up. Well, that tells you that, you're going to probably hit a lot of fly balls because you're dipping or whatever. But you watch him this year, his hands are staying up, but his hips, instead of going like this, now they're going like this. And that keeps your bat through the path, through the strike zone longer. And that's why you see him, get fooled by pitches, but he's so long and his bat's staying through the zone, he can still hit a double down the left field line by getting fooled. And if he's not in Seattle this year, it's a joke. It would be an absolute joke if Nick Castellanos is not an all-star this year.
Benny?
Well, if you're looking at Bryson Stott, I heard you say during the game, Bryson Stott, I said it up in the newsroom. If you're Bryson Stott, from a catcher standpoint, from a pitcher standpoint, Max Scherzer's throwing the kitchen sink at him today. His second at bat he had, or his second hit he had today, was an 8-pitch at bat. Fouling pitches off. This guy gets it. This guy is good, isn't he?
Ben, he really is, and it's all started last year when he got rid of a stride. He just went to that, weight transfer from back leg to front leg, and he can wait a little bit longer that way, and that's why he's able to shoot those balls the other way. Does he still have the most hits at the opposite way? Or he's either first or second, I think, in all of baseball with hits to the opposite field, but it's confidence now. And Rick, Bo, and Ben, you start getting hits. Rick, you start getting outs, like big outs. Now all of a sudden you're like, shoot, I can do this. This ain't no problem. And it just, his approach has not wavered. It's not changed once this year. It's the same approach, the same swing, the same swing. No, he makes adjustments in the pitch. And by that, I mean, you saw that one, he hit the down and away, and he just shoots it, ground ball, down the third base line. And, if you teach one swing, if he had one swing and one swing only, he ain't hitting that pitch with a broomstick. I mean, it's just awful. But he makes adjustments in his swing, and, he went – But here's my thing. When you can do that to Max Scherzer, he throws a pitch down the way. If you'd have watched Max when Bryson was running to first, he was like walking to first, like shaking his head, like, man, I made a great pitch, and this dang kid just got a base hit on me. And it frustrates the pitcher, and it makes it tougher moving forward for for Scherzer and the Mets to pitch to him.
Talk a little bit about Christopher Sanchez. First of all, he pitched okay today. I think everybody will admit that. Has he proven to anybody that he should be in the fifth spot?
Well, yeah, I do. And I would say this. I wasn't sure after his start in Oakland. He pitched great, 5 innings, got hit with that ball, but only gave up the one hit. But today, look, he's our fifth starter. He pitched against the Mets' number 1 guy. And he kept the Phillies in the game and gave them a chance to win the game. Now, the bullpen, Marte came in and, gave up a couple runs. One of those runs was Sanchez's, and that's why he got the loss in this game. But if you go 5 innings, and you come out of the game, and when you come out, the game is still tied, what more can you ask for from your fifth starter? Give us a chance. And he gave him a chance. The offense just didn't come through against Scherzer.
All right, John, thanks so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. John Kruk joining us in the booth. And in a moment, we'll hear from Rob Thompson and his thoughts on a tough loss to the New York Mets. You look at, they have every chance to win this series. They're first in almost 2 years from New York, or they could keep going the way they've been going. And it's a little concerning.
It's been concerning.
Right
I think it was concerning last year when they couldn't win a series against a team that you had, 5 or 6 series against last year. I mean, you can't continue like this. This is a team that you need to beat. And I thought they had a golden opportunity. I know it was Max Scherzer. He hadn't been pitching his best in his last, 3 starts. So, I mean, you thought there might have been a little bit of a opening or an opportunity, but I will tell you this much. Max Scherzer still bears down. You know, he gets runners on base, and he really makes his pitches. That's one thing that you don't find in somebody that just comes up to the big leagues. They get runners on base. All of a sudden, it's a little bit of a panic scenario. This is a guy that's out there who's been there, done that. He's just going to go with his own stuff. I mean, to me, the most impressive thing about Max Scherzer, him calling his own pitches. You could see him out there pressing in the buttons to call his own pitches. I think every pitcher should do that.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at an offense that what I was so happy about the last road trip out to the desert and then to Oakland, what I was so happy about was, one, their ability and their willingness to use the whole field, and two, their two-strike approach. These guys were just really battling, almost like they were mimicking Bryson Stott and what he does in his two-strike approach, just to foul off a pitch, just to see another pitch. It's something that they've kind of abandoned since being back here at home against the Braves and the Mets, and the fact that if you take what the pitch will give you, it doesn't always have to be a home run. And that's why I'm so big on the RBI and average guy, because the guy that drives in runs, I think, to me, an RBI is the biggest stat and best stat in baseball. You get an RBI guy, he can play on my team any day of the week. And also an average guy, because he's going to put balls in play and not walk back to the bench. And if you can be that guy, obviously easier said than done, but that's what I saw on the road. That's not what I'm seeing here at home. Use the whole field, take what they're going to give you, take it double down the line or the opposite field in other gap. That's not what I'm seeing. I know there's a little bit better pitching than what they saw, obviously, in Oakland, but it is what it is. And go out there with a better approach.
All right, let's hear from Rob Thompson right now on this loss to the Mets postgame.
Rob, this is Sanchez today. Just a minute, I wanted to face Marte a third time there.
Yeah, I mean, Sanchi threw well. The middle of that order had some good swings off him, so that's why I want to go to our Marte and get the ball on the ground. That's what he did. Should have turned the one double play on Alonso, but Sanchi was good. He gave us everything we needed. Kept us in the game. Not much damage, and did a great job.
Really quick second inning for him. Retired 8 in a row before the last single. Just through 2 starts, what have you seen from him, and what do you think going forward?
He's throwing strikes, and he's keeping people off balance for the most part. Changeup's been good. Slider's been good, sinker's been good, but he hasn't walked anybody, and that's a key for him. And I think he's been doing great, and he'll make his next start.
What did you think of the performance of Castellanos, even in the loss?
It was great. You know, he swung about really well today, and that was good to see, because ever since he's been sick, he kind of struggled a little bit, but maybe he's got it back now.
Harper, is it possible that between DHing, learning a new position, and ramping up throwing, there's just too much on his plate right now?
I don't think so. I really don't. I just think his timing's off and his rhythm's off a little bit, and it'll come. But I don't think the throwing and the first base, I don't think that affects him.
Do you get the sense he's pressing a little bit to try to do too much?
Oh, yeah. I think everybody gets like that, when they're struggling a little bit. And his expectations of himself are so high. And because he wants to do well. He wants to do well for his club and for the fans and the organization. So he puts a lot of weight on his shoulders.
Back to Sanchez, almost 2 months of bullpen games or openers or kind of piecing it together. What kind of stability could he provide for how much can I help the other guys in the rotation?
Yeah, if he could keep this going, it'd be great. And if he's throwing strikes, his stuff's good enough to get people out. So, that 5th spot, if he could take 5-6 innings down every time out, that'd be huge.
If you had your full bullpen, would you consider bringing a Soto or an Alvarado into the 6th, or do you say go behind the sixth.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. Not at Marte. Yeah.